And do I harm other people or not? Second question. So if you combine these questions, you're always on the right track. If you're not so well grown internally, it's tough to answer this question. The more you grow, it's easier. And then you have the guideline for your life and for your business. These are the fruits of your life guides. I can tell you I was much more successful as CEO of Hüls, where I was 7, 8 years on this track than before. Much more. So you can do it. It's possible. You can grow internally, you can follow a spiritual path, and you can be very successful in business. Except you make your own decisions that I don't want to be part of a company which is producing these kind of products. Arms, cigarettes, I don't know, fast food, I don't know. You have to make a decision to which company you go. Or you don't do this. Or you don't do this. I must confess that I have thought a lot about dark power in human beings, because the dark powers, the bad habits, they are there, like greed, arrogance, they are jealous and all that. It's not enough. Not everybody is always good. Carl Gustav Jung said, only good is bad. Why? Because those people who want to be only good put on what is not good, nobody should know, in the shadow. And if the shadow is getting bigger, they're doing stupid things. Or compensate. But we cannot stay off these powers in companies or in business. If I would say from tomorrow on in Germany, everybody can sit on the ground and meditate, yeah? All employees are allowed to do that. We are dead. We cannot even generate money for those who are unemployed or ill. So this doesn't work. Obviously, we have to accept that these kind of bad habits like greed and so on are in us, in the company, everywhere. The question is, how do we manage these habits? And it's very normal that young professionals, let's say until 45, are greedy like hell to earn a lot of money. It's great, wonderful. It's good for the company, it's good for the business, it's good for the economy. But you should have higher graded, higher level people who tell you to do that, but you don't do that. The problem in our society, in our business community, is that the bosses are promoting these kind of businesses with their people. Say, oh, well, if you do this, this, and this, okay, don't care about the people, but that harms people out, you get a bonus. This is a disease of our society. Why business better? I think, yes, you're much better in business. You're much more resilient if you have problems with competitors, with bosses, with failures, and so on. Why? We have made a deal when we have grown up. Until the age of 3, the babies are whole. The ego mind, the soul, and the spirit, they are whole. If you look into the face of a baby, they are whole. There is no greed. There's happiness. What is happiness? Well, there are researchers working about happiness. My friend, Professor Hüter, who is a brain researcher, he was listening to a podium discussion. They're talking about happiness. What is happiness? They measure happiness here and there. If a 1-year baby is able for the first time to stand up into the horizontal, catching here the table, he stands up for the first time and he smiles. If you look into this face, this is happiness. natural science, with medicine. This is, if you look into the face of the Dalai Lama, he's older than 1 year. This is happiness. And he said recently in YouTube, what the hell is happening from this 1 year to 10 years, 20, 30, 40, if I look around in the cities, look into these faces, they're dead. What has happened? So he told the people they have made tests where they sit babies in front of a television set with a movie where there was a mountain and a little yellow figure was walking up the mountain. Then it was turned off, and they put all these little figures on the table. Everybody wants to get the yellow figure of the babies, of course. Second scene, they tried to get up, and there was a green little fellow who helped the yellow to move up the mountain because he cannot do it by himself. The green and the yellow was on the table, and the baby grabbed almost 30% the green. When they were 1 year, they did the same, and there was the yellow moving up, the green pushing up, and when he was on the top, there was a blue figure, a blue guy. He pushed the yellow down the hill. And then they put the blue, the green, and the yellow on the table, and all of a sudden, 30% took the blue. They want to be those fighting the others, be the winners. What has happened with the babies in their families? They watch the families, what's going on, they learn. We have made a deal. We are falling out of this wholeness when we are 3 years old, almost. And then we are developing our ego mind. We learn, we are awarded, we learn to know a lot, we can do a lot, we make a lot, we achieve a lot, and so our ego mind is developed, our ego, by the help of our mind, is developed through our life. And it's absolutely necessary that we develop our ego. Sometimes our society, our world is full of people who haven't developed their ego, they're too weak. You need your ego to be strong in the world. That's okay. But this deal which we have made to develop our ego, which is essential for our life, would mean the more you are aiming for knowing much more, the more you're developing the anxiety that all of a sudden you don't know something. The more you do and make, the more you're developing your anxiety, you're afraid of that all of a sudden you cannot do somebody else. And the more you achieve and the more you have, the more you're afraid that you lose it. This is the other side of the medal. You gain knowledge, management power, and you're getting richer or you achieve a lot. On the other side of the medal, you're developing your anxieties. You're afraid of. You don't know, of course. You know when you're in a crisis. You don't know. To get rid of this anxiety, the only way is to develop your inner growth. Why? I don't know whether this, I didn't hear this expression somewhere else, I call it the stretched person. The stretched person, with 3 years, we develop our ego. The more we develop our ego, we leave something back. This is the ego, we leave back ourself, our inner dimension, ourself. The more we develop our ego, the more successful we are, the more the tension is increasing between the ego and our inner dimension, the self. We are stretched persons. Now we get a burnout. What is a burnout? This was another question. The burnout, from my definition, is a collapse of the ego of the egocentric ego, which is under pressure from outside, collapsing with an implosion inside, and if nothing, inside is nothing which holds the ego, you get a burnout. This is completely different to what you heard about burnout and the treatment of burnout. They say, oh, less work, wellness, yoga, better food, and so on, then start again. That's a lie. So, of course, you are a stretched person. If you reduce your work, if you reduce your outside performance, of course, you reduce your situation as a stretched person. But the much better way is to improve your inner dimension, to release the stretching. It's no need to reduce your work, your business hours and all that. Keep it as it is, but develop your inner dimension. As a Shaolin, as a Samurai, as a Dalai Lama, and so on. You can work much harder. I will not ask you to throw a needle through the window, of course, like the Shaolin are doing that, or cut the wood off his tail. But these are metaphors, and they can do it. I've seen it. But in life, you're much more powerful. In crisis, you are centered here and not here. The stretched person is centered here. The more you balance your life, the life balance, you are centered here. And this is a big difference. Your point of balance is too high to be stable. Your stability, which is coming from your ego, is an illusion. If the little thing is happening, you're collapsing. It's an illusion. Your ego must be grounded in yourself, in your inner dimension. And you can achieve that after a couple of years. Even if you start earlier, you achieve it earlier. Don't wait until you die. And then you can do business much better. Relaxed. You're here when you talk to somebody who is trying to kick you in your ass. You're centered here, in your middle power station, not here. It's a meditation. Encounter is a real nice experience which you can follow. Wine business and burnout prevention was the third question. I've talked about that. How get I independence from others was the question. I said when you develop your inner self, you are more and more feeling that you're connected with others. But these others are very often egoists, egocentric egoists. Don't forget you have two dimensions. Your ego, which is responsible for your mind and for your soul. You have yourself, which is responsible for your spirit. This is the divine dimension. And this has to fit together. And what is afraid, what others are thinking of you, or whether they attack you, it's a reaction of your ego. The ego is weak and has fear and anxiety. What other think about you, what other do. The more you are in balance as a stretched person, the less you don't care what they say or what they do. Because they are still back, they are on the ego trip, and they will fail. Some die without any enlightenment or any improvement of the inner growth. There's a nice story that the Jewish salesman or the Jewish shop owner, 85, in the basement of the shop, in the first floor of the living room, and he was dying on the bed. He said, his mother there, yes, father, brother, sister, son, father-in-law, sister-in-law, son-in-law, and so on. And all of a sudden, this dying man was standing up there. Who the hell is taking care of the business? And then he died. Poor guy. He had no fun. He was only taking care of his business. read you in connection with this the story of a very successful entrepreneur, and to make clear what I mean and what my teacher mean, to make it very clear. I told you, it takes a lot to be Durkheim is the name of my first teacher. Once, he said, once a very successful manager with a great reputation came to me and said, "Professor, please tell me what I'm missing. I'm very healthy, I have no financial problems, I have nothing to apologize for, I have a so-called clean record, and I'm well respected by my employees and all others. And nevertheless, something is wrong in my life. In spite of all my privileges, I have an incomprehensible fear. And in spite of my own wholesomeness, I have feelings of sin and guilt. And inside of all my wealth, I have the feeling of darkness and emptiness." Durkheim said, "May I ask you, what is the guiding principle of your life?" "It's all about performance," said the top manager. "Of course." "Ah, you are a poor man," the master said. "I'm not surprised. Do you really believe that performance is the most important thing in life? That life has to be focused only on performance?" And the manager said, "Yeah, what else?" Oh. Durkheim said, "Did you ever hear about the inner path which the human being has to fulfill in addition to the outer path? The work in the world. Did you ever hear about inner growth as a condition for inner peace?" With a disrespectful gesture, the manager said, "Oh, do you mean something like religion or so? My dear professor, we as top managers do not have any time for that kind of stuff. We cannot use it to manufacture our products or to achieve leading positions in the business world. No way." And Durkheim said, these people, very often busy, well-educated, conscientious, and orderly, well-meaning people are so greatly limited by their mania to be successful that they believe it can replace all need for the inward growth. The result is a high-performance animal, which, because of his one-sidedness, is a mere caricature of what a human being is meant to be. A unity of body, soul, and spirit. If you would paint such a human being, he would have a giant head, a blown-up breast, and mechanical limbs of steel which are directed by a tenacious will. But in the middle, where the guiding center of soul and spirit resides, would be a vacuum, which is sheltered by an anxious, easily vulnerable ego. The human being who corresponds to this picture remains inside a child, in spite of all that he knows, all he can do and all he has achieved, because the soul remains small. The result is emptiness, guilt, and fear. These symptoms frequently occur in people who seem to be at the top of their career. Others who aren't aware of this internal dilemma may admire their visible facade, but behind the facade is an unhappy human being whose suffering, soul, and lack of inner peace is the result of having remained an immature individual. And very often these individuals don't see any other possibility for maintaining a modicum of inner peace than to practice an ironclad self-discipline in order to keep their inner tensions under control. But the suppression of the tensions will not lead to any improvement. It will result in frustration, anxiety, nervousness, mood swings, which will be followed by lack of zest of life. These inner problems may be kept under control in business, but at home, family members will suffer the consequences. When the pressure cannot be contained any longer, explosions of impulsiveness will follow. In many cases, it ends up as burnout, depressions, and some other forms of psychological or psychosomatic illnesses, or suicide. This gentleman was a very successful manager. Can you imagine how easily, maybe earlier, a non-successful manager is coming into these same problems? Much easier and earlier. But the resolution to solve these problems have the same source. Go on your inner track. Your ego is afraid that others are what others are thinking about you. Don't care about it. Competition. You said in your question, well, it can be done maybe better, this kind of concept in higher positions, but we are young professionals, we are on this, we start. It's right. If you're a CEO, it's easy. I did it for many years. I was very successful. With 56, my chairman kicked me out because I said, I don't do that. If you're on this inner growth, you may sometimes come into a position where you have to say no. Where you don't find your inner peace and where you harm other people. And it's very clearly said in the English book. I was in this situation when the FEWA board, no, E.ON, I was in the FEWA board, decided to sell the chemical part to the trading part, Stillness, and all the other companies except energy. Because the Goldman Sachs guys and the McKinsey guys said, oh, come on with this conglomerate. Get big or get out. Put all your money in energy. That's your giant. You know what these kind of managers do when they have no idea what business is and have never built up any kind of business? They follow the investment bankers and the consultants, and they do it. And they did it, of course, the value of FEWA was going up like 130 billion Deutsche Marks or euros. Now it's 25. They failed. They invested 70 billion euros during the last 10 years in energy, and they have written off 40 out of the 70 because of failures. They are now only 25. They lost the idea that the business model has changed. They would be glad to be a conglomerate like in previous years, because Evonik has a value of 18, and Brenntag, I was in charge of, I took these two because I was in charge of these companies, and I didn't like to say it. I said no, and they kicked me out. 18 billion euros for Evonik and 7 for Brenntag is 25. They are equal to the value at the stock exchange of FEWA here. When I meet these guys at the concerts and all the other events, they don't feel it well when they meet me. But it's good. So what I like to tell you in business, it may happen that you have to say sometimes no. You cannot find your inner peace. And you must say no, because if you live with that, you will never find it. It will even getting stronger in that feeling. Yes, as a CEO, you can do it much better. I said, younger people are on that track. In preparation of my book, I've read 10 books about the Y generation, the millennials, what they have in mind, and so 30% obviously are the Y generation. And they want a different life. They want another life balance, different life balance. They want to work hard, but not only. And the companies are all surprised, because they've never seen that somebody said, oh, I don't want to build up a career, money's fine, great, but what else is doing for my life balance and so on. And it's not only having fun, it's deeper desire, inner growth. And this is great that that's going to grow. It's wonderful, because that will be a different society and different companies. At Münster, we were very successful with this concept. We didn't think about competitors. I didn't lose any of the executives. We were enthusiastic. And we were really on the right track. So it works. If you are starting, yeah, you meet all these people. Y generation, X generation, baby boomers, traditionalists, enemies, hard workers, people who claim always. You meet the whole mixture. I could give you a recommendation what I did. Don't talk about your inner way. Do it by yourself. Don't talk about it. Just do it like you want to do it for following your inner voice. Don't talk about it, because you have so many enemies. In a couple of years they will see differences. Many people want to work with you, want to be in a team with you. If you're promoted, you have a different leadership performance. You're more successful. And they will feel, bosses will think, well, that's different. My son told me in his company they now will start a mindfulness seminar. Oh, that's great. Mindfulness seminar. It's a wonderful word just now. Everybody's talking about mindfulness. I don't know whether you know that there was a conference, Wisdom 2.0, by Google, Facebook, Amazon and so on, in Silicon Valley in February this year, Wisdom 2.0. The idea was to bring more wisdom into business, to build up more ethics in business, and do business different in that way, what I'm trying to explain to you now 1.5 hours. Can you imagine that they do have this? And now it's coming over to Europe in September in Dublin. Is 3 days, Wisdom 2.0 Europe. I've signed it, I will participate. I have applied for having a lecture there. I think they can read my book or look through YouTube. I don't think they will invite me. It may well be, I don't know, whether this wisdom thing in these kind of businesses is just show business. I don't know. I will find out. What I would tell them, they can read the book on the YouTubes. They go for mindfulness is one. Everybody must go for mindfulness. I understand mindfulness, but I'm a German. Mindfulness is a life full of mind. Mindfulness is full of mind. But your mind is a problem. Your mind is restricting you to a little space. It's not soul and it's not spirit. Mindfulness is all over. Books, seminars and all that. Maybe it's better awareness. Now they say for Dublin conference, mindfulness and awareness in the new technology area. In the Google headquarters. I did really fascinating. I'm not English native, but mindfulness is a very misleading word because our problem is our ego mind. When we learn to think, we restrict our talents by thinking. Descartes said, I think, therefore I am. And with our thinking power, we generate a lot of results in natural science, in medicine, in technology and all that. But we are fighting each other, we are killing each other, we are unhappy, we take drugs, we have burnout, we have depression, something's wrong with our ego mind. Our ego mind is like restricting us to a little aquarium, and we are fish in our little aquarium, in this little aquarium, and there the walls are limiting us. The huge potential for more creativity is outside. It's coming from inside, like intuition. Intuition comes from the Latin word intuere, that means turn inside. Meditate, go to the nature, play piano, meet good friends, dance. All spaces of experience where you can do this sort of meditation, be in the moment. And then all of a sudden, you get an idea and you don't know where the idea is coming from. It's intuition. It's not coming from your ego mind, that's true. When I give lectures, and talk about this issue, ask the people, what do you think where the intuition is coming from? They said, here. I said, no, maybe here. And from intuition comes inspiration. Because you have intuition flow and you inspire. You inspire that, and then you make innovation. That's where innovation is coming from. And if you are on this inner track, developing yourself, you have another benefit. You trigger, you improve your intuition flow. All of a sudden you get ideas like that. You must not think where it's coming from. And therefore you can be very successful in business. You get much more intuition. Yeah, don't talk much about that in your company. Just do it. The deeper goal, question number 6, what is the deeper goal? The deeper goal is to find my inner peace. That find my inner peace by this concepts of inner growth. You find your inner peace. You're much stronger in the outside. You build up resilience versus all the others who are not so far developed like you are. That is my deeper goal. 7, the discipline. I told you it's a tough job. It's very simple but not easy. Because you're dominated by your ego mind. Your ego mind doesn't like meditation. Because if you meditate, you get rid of your ego mind. So what meditation starts with awareness. You focus, let's say, on your breath, for instance. Sit down. You want to get rid of your ego mind. No thinking, no feeling. You're entering a space of a trance, mental, psychological space. That is a spiritual space. Body, soul, spirit. English language is good because you have spirit and mind. In German we have the same word for both. It's Geist. And this is a tragedy of our world here. We should have, Geist, what is it? Here, you're thinking, it's Geist. No. This wholeness is spirit. It's very difficult. I started, I gave up. I started, I gave up. You've got to use your ego mind just for one thing, to decide to meditate, or to pray, or to set your footprints in a forest, or to dance. And by doing so, you decided for a method to be in the moment. And be in the flow. Let's say that. Be in the flow of dancing. Or play piano. You're only playing piano. Or you're talking to somebody. You're only talking to somebody. You can do what you want as long as a method is leading you away from your ego mind and away from your feelings. And Frank Kinslow, American author of these kind of books, he was asked by somebody, well, how can I experience this reality, trance mind, trance soul? He said, it's very easy. Sit down. I like the American writers in the books. It's very simple. Sit down and watch what ideas are coming up, what thoughts. Thought number 1 is coming up. And then number 2. And number 3, number 4. Let them go, let them go, let them go. And when number 1 is coming up, before number 2 is coming up, there's a little space in between with no thoughts. It's not one thought after the other. It's an idea or a thought, a feeling, and then the other. There's a little space of emptiness in between. And this is the reality. And this is the divine principle. And there you can experience that. And you can extend it by meditation. And then you extend it into your life. It's a very good explanation. Discipline is, yeah, you have got to do it. And don't tell me you are so busy, you have no time is no excuse. It's for the ego mind. Your ego mind is telling you have no time, you have to play tennis or work or I don't know what. You have so much time. Count your time in moments. You have so much time to do it. I hope for everybody that you don't have to become ill, severely ill, to understand that you have time to do that. Reduce your tension in your stretched person. Reduce it. You build up your inner dimension, and there you are in the right shape. Discipline is important. Time management, last question. I work with to-dos. They change every day. The question is, what do you put first and second and so on? I think if you have more transparency for the moments and from the things to do which are really important to do, you get a better time management automatically at the end. Time management is doing. Doing the right things at the right moment is not always doing. You decide according to your feeling, intuition, importance of things, how you should follow. Time management can be better done. Management can be much better done. I'm now coming to the end and have a look what I have forgotten because I cannot tell you all my experience here. But I think we covered a lot of things. It's not only meditation which I asked you for to do. In my book I made it easier and say, you must not meditate. We have spaces of experience where we experience the same what we can experience with meditation. And we are in these spaces all our life. Nature, love, religion, art, dancing, encounter, sports, the whole life, the whole daily life. You're always in spaces of experience when you experience the moment. When you experience the moment, you experience the divine principle. When you're standing at the red light, that's what you do. The mindfulness problem is, they talk everybody, mindfulness is the key. Mindfulness and awareness is only the first step, the gateway into a meditation process. If you stop with mindfulness, you do mindfulness. You always try to be very mindful, and then you stop. Many concepts stop with mindfulness training. Mindfulness-based stress reduction program. Maybe it's a little bit better. It's like relaxation trainings and so on. The mindfulness is forcing you to focus on a special focus, to get rid of your thinking. But the next step in meditation is to release and get rid of the focus. You have to let the focus go. And this second step is normally not done by those people who only concentrate on mindfulness. And at the end I can tell you a story of one of my masters. When he was at a retreat in Italy. And the Rinpoche, the master, came back to the people, 120 people who were sitting there, and they were really meditating. They were really hard meditating. Yeah? Mindfulness. The Rinpoche comes in and said, "Don't meditate, just relax." And this was his problem. They were doing meditation like management, like doing, with ego mind. They meditate the whole day. And everybody was laughing. And then they were in that mood, in that situation, where the spirit can develop. This is really tricky. And that's it. I think we can just stop here.